This is the Cubs POSTCAST, your instant game reaction for the Chicago Cubs. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Welcome into the Locked On Cubs postcast here on the Locked On Cubs YouTube channel. The Cubs lose 3-2 in 11 innings to the Arizona Diamondbacks. A very long day for Cubs fans after an hour-long rain delay. Today's episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. All right, so let's get right into it today. We're going to get to our turning point of today's game.
Time to reveal where the game was won or lost. It's the turning point.
So even though Jordan Wicks gives up those runs to the man-for-man, I'm not going to blame this game on him today. We'll talk about Jordan Wicks and what we saw from him in this performance, but this loss to me comes down to two things. First of all, the Cubs didn't have a base runner from the second inning to the seventh inning. You can't go that many innings without getting guys walks, singles, hits, doubles, home runs, anything. No guys on base for that many innings is going to be costly. But the other one is obviously Nico Hoerner gets the ground ball off the glove. It ties the game. They're in the 10th inning, and then he doesn't score. That's the game right there. There's no outs. You should have got him home. I know it's Carson Kelly and John Birdie and those guys up, and Carson Kelly's obviously been fantastic this year, but you have to get Nico home there, and Pete Crow-Armstrong as well was up to the plate. And obviously, you know, Pete he gets the little dribbler that Nico gets thrown at second. Really close play there. Two close plays in extras. And Pete Crow-Armstrong was able to steal second, so that's the guy. Sorry, you have to get home. A lot happening there in extra innings. You got to get Pete Crow-Armstrong home in that situation. But also in that situation, if you want to read the lips of Nico Hoerner, he was pissed when he stole second base and Pete threw down a bunt that was totally unnecessary. It was outside the zone. Pete Crow-Armstrong should have pulled back there because Nico Hoerner would have been safe at second base, and then you would have had a guy on second with no outs, could have moved him to third, and then Carson Kelly would have just had to hit a sac fly to bring him home to win the game. So that's, to me, where the Cubs really lost this game, was in the bottom of the 10th. They had a golden opportunity with a runner on first with no outs to win this baseball game, and they just didn't get it done. And that to me is the only reason why they truly, truly lost this game. And then, of course, like I said, the offense was quiet for most of the day. They only had 4 hits in this baseball game. So, you know, if you do look at the last 2 games combined, like the Cubs scored, 6 runs in the first 2 innings of yesterday's game, and then they didn't score until after the first. They only scored 1 run after that until the 10th inning of this game. So it's been a quiet stretch over the last 2 days for the offense. They started really strong in Saturday's game. It won them the game. But then after the first 2 innings yesterday and really until throughout this entire game, it was a struggle bus for the lineup in this one. And they're going to have these games. That's what's going to happen. I saw one of the comments here early on was this should have been a sweep. Totally agree. They should have swept the Arizona Diamondbacks. There's no question about it that they should have won this game, especially when you have performances like you did from Jameson, Taillon. I mean, you know, it's not easy. They were talking about this all broadcast. We see pitchers come out there and absolutely have disaster performances after rain delays. They don't get to go deep in games in rain delays like Jameson, Taillon didn't in this one. And sometimes they don't just come back out there. And obviously it was long, but not long enough to where he was able to come out for the second inning. But he goes 5 innings pitched, only 1 earned run, strikes out 6 guys in this game. Merriweather comes in, he gets out of his inning after some traffic. Roberts comes in, 3 up, 3 down. Hodge and Presley all come in, 3 up and 3 down to help you get this thing into extra innings. So, yeah, they should have won. The pitching was plenty good enough in this game. You know, if you look at this offense of these 2 teams, it's the 2 best offenses in baseball, and both were just off their game in this one a little bit. So the pitching did its job, and the lineup just didn't produce enough. And again, they should have won this game in extras. And you know, my expectation now for the Cubs offense is they're going to score 3 or 4 runs in every single game, just the way they've played this season so far. But just not getting Pete Crow-Armstrong or Nico himself, who was on there first, home in the situation, it's ultimately what did the Cubs in this one. So let's talk about Jordan Wicks a little bit in this game. Okay, so Jordan Wicks, you know what? I think you have to be happy with his performance. I'm going to be honest. I know there's people who, you know, Rob says here, Wicks is not reliable. Look, he gave up 2 runs to the Manfred man, and then he got out his innings. It's a stupid rule that I'm not saying I like. I'm not going to sit here and like praise Wicks or like and say like I really like him as a pitcher. Like he's okay. That's all he is to me. He's okay. But this game specifically, the man for man is a dumb rule. I hate it. I like traditional baseball. If you want to do this, like just play hockey rules and just like end the game and give each team a half a point or whatever you want to do. I've never liked the man for man rule. It's not for me. I know they're not like that's why the postseason baseball is always superior because they don't use it. And there's a reason why they don't use it in the postseason because it's a stupid rule. But he gives up the 2 runs to the man for man, and then he gets out of both of his innings. And when these guys are on second base, the Diamondbacks had guys on second in scoring position after those first runs came in very quickly, and he did get out of those jams. So he put his team in a position to win this game still, even though, yes, both those man for man scored in the 10th and the 11th inning. So I can't look at this game and say anything about the bullpen too negatively or the starting pitching. They really did their job in this game. And yes, in a perfect world, would you like, Wicks to go out there in the 10th and the 11th and to shut him down, 3 up and 3 down and nobody scores, so you have a chance to just score 1 run? The dribbler off the shortstop or the second baseman that got Dansby home in the 10th could have won the game? Absolutely. Like absolutely, you want that to happen from your relief pitchers. But when a guy's given second base and he didn't earn to be out there, I'm just not going to kill a bullpen pitcher in, a regular season game to say that it's his fault or anything like that. And also too, like there's some unfortunate luck where the Cubs were not good in this game. Ian Happ probably hits the hardest ball of the day right to the shortstop, and they tag out Birdie there at second. Kyle Tucker, another hard hit ball there in the bottom of the 11th. But if the other guys in the lineup would have done their job, this thing doesn't even get to the 11th inning if it wasn't needed. All right, when we get back, we'll take a look more about this game, the series overall, another series victory. Like it always feels a little more negative when you lose a series going into a Monday, especially going into an off day. Cubs are off tomorrow. Super strange that they got an off day on Monday. Like half the league is off. Very odd to me. I'd rather than be playing baseball on Mondays every Monday. Just get to that the Monday terror is a little bit easier to have a Cubs game on the other side. But when we'll talk about this series, what it means for the Cubs and why they continue to impress throughout this stretch, even with a loss today. That's all coming up next year on the Locked On Cubs postcast on the Locked On Cubs YouTube channel. Today's episode brought to you by Monarch Money. Ever check your bank account and wonder where did all my money go? Between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, it's easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes in. Your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center so you can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place. So you stop just managing your money and start building wealth. You got that all-in-one convenience. Instead of having to use multiple apps to try to juggle all of your finances, you can do all of it with Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com. Code LOCKEDONMLB for half off your first year. All right, questions, comments, concerns about the Chicago Cubs through after this series is now officially over. And again, they've only lost 1 series so far in the United States, 2 series in the season so far this year. So this is this is a great start for the Cubs. They're in first place in the division. Yes, the Cincinnati Reds scored 24 runs today off of position players and the Baltimore Orioles, a hilarious score. But you're 14-10. You are in first place in your division, and you just beat another really good baseball team in a series. The biggest positives for me out of this series are going to be what happened the last 2 days with the bullpen. You see yesterday's performance, the first 12 guys the bullpen faces, 12 up, 12 down. Palencia obviously has a little bit of damage there in the 9th, but he gets out of it with only giving up, 1 earned run. And then today, again, Jameson Taillon only able to get you 5 innings because of where his pitch count was at and also the fact that there was a rain delay. And Merriweather, Roberts, Hodge, and Presley all are able to get through 4 innings without giving up an earned run as well. So that, to me, is such a huge positive after what happened on Friday, with Friday obviously being a total disaster, right? A total disaster. And that, to me, is where when you say the Cubs should have swept this series, you could also easily say the Cubs should have lost this series. Because if you haven't seen the video that Major League Baseball has put out, it's got the Cubs win percentage going through that game, where from Ian Happ's home run to having them at like a 63% chance to win the game, all the way down to a like 12% chance, and then to winning the game after the Kyle Tucker home run. It's This is arguably a series like you could have lost because of that game. And again, you should have won this game today. So this series could have flipped either direction for the Cubs. So I'm going to take it as a very, very good positive that the Cubs won this series. And again, what the bullpen did is huge in these last two games. I think it should give Cubs fans confidence, at least a little bit. It doesn't have to give you full confidence that they're going to come out there and, shut guys down on a consistent basis, because they haven't quite earned that just yet. When you have 3 performances this season where you've given up 8 earned runs or more, it's hard to earn that trust back very quickly, but a very positive performance from the bullpen. And again, Jordan Wicks, because I see the comments here, just to touch on him again briefly for the people that are just joining in, you got to give him a little bit of break, I think. Just see, it's a man for man. I want to see what his next 2 outings look like, because obviously his first one's not good, and that's why people are upset with him today, because he gave up 3 hits on 5 pitches in his first outing, was a total disaster. And then this one does give up the 2 earned runs to the Manfred men. So curious what Jordan Wicks will look like. I think that'll give people a much better sample size of what he is so far this season with the Cubs. Because, the results say he's not been good. He had an infinite ERA coming into today's performance against the Arizona Diamondbacks. Other takeaways from this series. Crow-Armstrong, his 8-game extra base hit streak ends with this one. Again, very impressive what he's doing. The biggest thing for me that watching the lineup the last 2 days that wants me to make a change is obviously you need Dansby Swanson on the field. He's your best fielder, right? At least the guys on the infield. Nico's great, and Michael Busch has been good at first base, and third base has been kind of an adventure, especially when you think about the Gage Workman play in Saturday's game. Obviously, you're not going to take Dansby Swanson out of the lineup. That's what no one should be asking for that. No one is asking for that. No one, I think, that our intelligent Cubs fans are asking for that. But is there a question about moving him down in the order? That, I think, after this series, I'm kind of ready for. And I've talked about this before on these postcast shows. I'm not one to, beg for lineup changes when things aren't going well. But in today's game's not on Dansby at all. It's just more of a takeaway from this 3-game series is the strikeout numbers are really high, and he's just not getting it done at the plate. So Dansby is the guy that, whether it's for Carson Kelly or Miguel Amaya, Nico Horner, just moving him down in the lineup, I think would make a lot of sense. Honestly, having him bat 8th or 9th, and of course we know how baseball works. There'll be guys with runners on base, and he'll come up to the plate, and it won't matter because he's in your lineup. That's how baseball always goes. The ball finds you no matter where you are if you're struggling. So the Cubs go into this next series versus the Dodgers. Expectations, split it. 2-game series, split the series. Not going to ask for a sweep. Not going to, don't want to see them get swept at all, but split this series versus the Dodgers and just continue to keep grinding through this, this really tough month that the Cubs have been doing. I was looking at the schedule. I'm really looking forward to, in a 9-game stretch, playing the Miami Marlins 6 times and the White Sox 3 times. That's going to be a very nice stretch after what we're seeing the Cubs go through right now, where it's the Dodgers and then the Phillies and all these tough series that they've been rolling through. So that's why, again, a loss is frustrating, but have to take away the positive that they did win this series and they had one of the most incredible victories we've ever seen in baseball. All right, before we wrap up today's show, we will get to our What You're Talking About after this game.
This is what you'll be talking about.
We're not doing a player of the game. No more player of the games and losses officially on the Cubs postcast shows. I'm not doing it. You don't deserve it if you lose this game. All right, biggest thing that I think Cubs fans will be talking about after this series, besides just what happened on Friday night and the bullpen, I think the sneaky part of this series and in this recent stretch that it's been talked about, but it does feel like Michael Busch has not been getting the credit he deserves. So I think he's the guy that I would be talking about with my friends as we're talking about the Cubs here. He's hitting .316, goes 1 for 3 today with a walk, has the RBI, that that weird check swing single in the first inning coming out of the rain delay. Very strange single for him, but he's been phenomenal for the Cubs so far this season, and he really just continues to be such a huge protector for Kyle Tucker. Even in the extra innings there, he's playing well enough that, let's say Ian Happ doesn't, let's say that ball drops, right? And you got a runner on second base with 1 out and Kyle Tucker comes to the plate. You can walk Kyle Tucker and you have Seiya Suzuki coming up, but Michael Busch is the other guy that's behind Tucker and Suzuki that it's really becoming challenging to give the Cubs free bases. And that's why I think when we've seen them have their most successful games is it's the walks. And if you look at this game today, they only walked twice and they struck out 10 times, which is not great. You know, the Cubs, like, you can't be striking out 10 times. And I know it happens all the time in baseball. It's the way baseball is done now, where so many strikeouts happen. But the Cubs have 10 strikeouts and 3 of them come from Dansby. But Michael Busch, to me, is going to be the guy that I want to be talking about after this series victory over the Arizona Diamondbacks. All right, quick questions or comments if you guys got them. Let's see. Adam says Wicks was sitting at 94, 95 on his four-seamer. That looks good. That looks good. That looks good going forward to be happy about. Totally agree in terms of his velocity. So hopefully he can continue that as well. And we'll see what he looks like in his next outing. Because when you give up 3 hits on 5 pitches, and while I give him a break for what happened in this game, his next outing will be crucial, I think, to see what kind of confidence Craig Counsell and this pitching staff can have in him going forward. Ryan says we need a third baseman. Alex Bregman would have been nice. He didn't say that. I said that. Third base is definitely kind of a black hole for the Cubs outside of Dansby Swanson. That's the other part of this lineup right now that it's very clear. It's why the third baseman's hitting 9th, whether it's Workman, Birdie, Turner, whoever's out there at third base. It's a gap. Really need Matt Shaw to figure it out in the minors and get him back up here as quickly as possible. That, to me, is the solution. And when I was watching, when the Gage Workman play happened the other day and the ball just bounced right underneath his glove, my immediate reaction was like, just bring the kid back up. Like, he plays a good third base. He's got some wheels. Yes, he was struggling at the plate, but frankly, I'd rather see him struggle at the plate and have a good defensive third baseman than kind of some question marks. And Birdie's not a huge question mark at third. I know he had that tough bounce throw that wasn't out the other day, but I do agree with Ryan that, you know, getting a new third baseman or getting Shaw back up here as quickly as possible would be huge for the Cubs, because it does seem to be besides Dansby, the blackest of holes in the lineup right now that you can hopefully fix. Like, you can't fix Dansby. Dansby is Dansby, and his struggles are going to be here because of what he means to his team financially and because of his defense. You can fix third base. So that is the one part of this lineup. It's the only part of this lineup where, to me, you can really add someone to be a game changer either within your own system or eventually down the road through a trade if you wanted to do that. Josh says all we need right now is a good bullpen, arm replacement for Steele, and then we extend Kyle Tucker. This team will be set. Those are a lot of things to ask for. That's a lot, Josh, to ask for. Bullpen, again, positive the last 2 days for sure. Justin Steele replacement, Colin Ray has been fine so far. Again, I think they will add a big name acquisition at the deadline. Extend Kyle Tucker. Cross our fingers that one day it happens. All right. David says, can we get Arenado from the Cardinals? I don't know. The bat speed's slowing down. Plays a good third base, but he's not the hitter that he once was. Nearly got traded to the Astros this season twice, actually, and turned it down both times. So Arenado was an option. If the Cardinals ate almost all of that contract, I could see it, but it would be interesting. Nolan Arenado as the third baseman for the Chicago Cubs. I'd be surprised if they went down that path, but anything's possible. That's for sure. All right, that will do it for us for this episode of the Locked On Cubs Postcast. Remember, hit that subscribe button, like the video as well. And wherever you get your audio, Apple, Spotify, you can find Locked On Cubs to listen to the only audio version as well. Thanks for watching. We'll be back on Tuesday because the Cubs are off tomorrow. So again, we'll talk to you Tuesday. Peace.